Hey friends, how's it going? Well, welcome back. It's been a whole week. I don't know, can you believe that? It's hard for me to believe it. I know, it's crazy how fast a week can go. Yeah, well, we have something that's nice to share. Something that's, well, I've shared it before, but it's been a minute. But we're going to talk about a process because I feel there's a lot of collectors out there that either understand or don't understand what this process is. And there's a lot of questions that do crop up on the Tubular Lantern Collectors page on Facebook. And a lot of people, mostly the newcomers, which is good. I'm glad they're asking questions. Is what is Japanning? What is the process of Japanning, and what is it, and why was it used, and what lanterns were the ones that received a Japanning finish? Now, I'm not sure of the origins of Japanning, why it's called that. Of course, naturally, one would assume it comes from Japan. But it's a lacquer that's tinted. Okay, a certain color now that came in different shades. A lot of manufacturers would use this. But before I get into the whole Japanning content here, I wanted to share something else really quick. Now, we had the Townley jobber made by Embry last video, and this thing, I did leak test it. It does weep down here a little bit towards the bottom. You can probably see kind of where it's wet. So this is kind of where the rough spot is here. That's where it's leaking. So just a little bit of seal all, and you'll have a working, functioning lantern, I would imagine, if anyone's interested in this. I'd say $30 plus the ride. Okay, I know it has the damage here. So it's a project. Yeah, it's right there. That's the damage. So it's a project that needs to be fixed, but it comes with a good burner cone and fuel cap and glass globe. It doesn't come with the bail that belongs to another lantern. I just have it on there for the time being. But those are easy enough to fashion yourself. And you could probably even get a tea kettle, bail from one of those enamel camp tea kettles with a spring grip on there and make your own bail. And it's awesome. You could do that. Why not? What would stop you from doing that? Anyways, so that's a project, $30 plus the ride. Okay, for anyone out there, you want this piece, I need it out of here. I'm not going to fix it up. I'm not going to keep it or anything. I was thinking about it, but I just realized I got too many things going on. I don't have the time or the bandwidth for another project. So my loss is your game. So 30 plus the ride within the 48 states. Okay? The original 48. That's why I have a 48 fly, because I don't ship outside of the 48 continental United States. Yeah. Anyway, no hate on those outside of the continental U.S. or the rest of the world, for that matter. I just do not want to deal with the shipping fiascos that ensue when leaving the continent. Anyway, that's the deal. 30 plus the ride. Okay, I think that's pretty fair. So if anyone's interested in taking on this this project, just leave a comment, and I'll comment under there with my email that's associated with this channel, and you'll get an email from me, Rail Rob, number 17, personally, and we'll finalize the deal. Anyways, $30 I think is pretty fair. I mean, that's kind of the price just for the burner and cone itself for a lot of places that sell antique lantern parts, so I think you're getting a hell of a deal. Yeah, right? I know. So, projects. I know you guys want them, and it's a cool lantern. It's got cool history. It's Kansas City history. I don't even have to upsell it any more than it already is. It speaks for itself. It just needs some air tube maintenance and some seal all, and you'll have a burning lantern ready to go. And of course, the globe plate is fine. It's just the clip that attaches to the globe plate from the lift wire that needs to be recrimped so it's holding on properly. Just lubricate it so it pivots on the lift wire, and you'll be good to go. So that's it. It's really simple. It's nothing too major. The major hurdle of that would be repairing the air tube if you so desire. I'm sure it would burn just fine if you wanted to have a back porch sitter. Okay, that's all we're going to say about the Townley jobber. So what do we have on the bench? Well, we have a CT Ham. We have the CT Ham dash lantern, circa 1898, 99, maybe even 1900, give or take. but this thing is really it's a beautiful piece. It has the patented globe. It says, let's see, patented July 4. It's coming up, Independence Day, 1882, and November 1st of 1887. So those are the patents that this globe was, I think 87 might be when Ham first was founded, maybe? I think it was when 87 was when Ham was founded. Yeah. Something else was founded in 1887. That was the city of Monrovia, my hometown. That's right. The gem city of the foothills was founded in 1887, but it was in May, not November. But anyway, this is a cool piece. It's a very special piece, and I don't burn it often because, well, we don't like to burn these bullseye globes too much because they do get stressed out and they will eventually crack. Now I'm keeping the flame rather low, and I turned it up very low and to a reasonable height. So I'm going to turn it down slowly so that the heat and the temperatures changing won't shock the globe. But it's a video, so I'm going to burn it. So speaking of Japanning, this is the coveted blue Japan that a lot of collectors kind of look out for on a lantern. So here's the bottom of it. Oh, shoot, idiot. I was tipping it forward and I got some kerosene spilling out. Don't want to spill that stuff, it's precious. That's right. Anyways, cork. I don't have a fuel cap for it currently, but the cork it's a good deal there. But blue Japan, okay? So let's do it this way. You see the blue Japan? Yeah. It's pretty cool, huh? Yeah, I think so. But what is it? What is it? Well, we've talked about this several times before. Let me adjust the brightness on this thing. It's a little dark. Well, there we go. Okay, that's a little better. Now you can see it a little better, right? Okay. Hold on a second. Boom. There we go. Cool. So this lantern is a dash lantern. It's a driving lantern. That's why it has a reflector on it. So with the clip and the reflector, then you could attach it to the dashboard of a wagon, like a buckboard or whatever. Mostly conventional wagons, nothing overly fancy, mind you. Not like, some carriage or whatever. Those had brass-style driving lamps, marker lamps, all that stuff. But this is definitely for utility purposes for, homesteader, something that's, like a buckboard. Anyway, this piece is right around there, turn of the century, of the last century, that is. And it is just a really cool piece. Now, the Japan finish, like I said earlier in the video, it is a toned lacquer. So they would add a pigment to the lacquer, and then they would cover the lantern with it. And I'm sure it was hand applied. I don't think they had spray guns at that time, but it was hand applied, brush applied, and then it would dry, right? And then it would become a protective coating to the metal, which was bright tin. So originally, of course, these lanterns were finished in a bright tin finish, and then they would be japanned to protect the finish from rusting and deteriorating, and that gave them a longer life outside, because since these were designed for wagons, they would stay outside or in the barn on the wagon, wherever the wagon was stored. And a lot of places they kept them in a barn. If you were on a homestead or a farm, your wagon would be put into the barn along with its team, of course, but they were outside more than not. Okay, so these companies would say, well, how do we protect the tin from rusting out, if they're going to be in the weather and the temperature changes and all that stuff? So they decided to coat them with this Japanning finish. And they came in a variety of colors. I've seen red, I've seen green, I've seen the blue, I've seen even dark brown or black. Black is definitely very common, depending on the manufacturer. Some people have seen early Dietz outside station lamps or beach lamps. The stuff that was the big number 2 or number 3 size burner, stuff for outside illumination, the square lamps and everything, those early tubular square lamps, those had a Japan finish. Now, a friend of mine sent me one that he has that he was going to sell, and it looked black. It looked black. And it was dirty, and so I says, no, that's probably blue Japanning. And he's like, no, it's black. And so I'm like, is it? And so he started showing me more pictures, and I saw some thin spots. And I was like, I saw a blue tint to it. And I'm like, that's blue Japanning. And he's like, holy crap, you're right. Oh my gosh. Wow, how did you know? I'm like, I could tell. I've seen dark blue Japanning that is almost dark enough to look black. And with enough age and patina, it will turn very dark if it's preserved. And if it was in a very dry climate, it will change its color profile to a degree. Now this one's missing it mostly on the face of it. There's still traces of it, but the back of the reflector, underneath the fount, and some of the corners definitely has more intact than not. But this is probably the best example of blue Japanning that I have in the collection. The other one that would be second runner-up would be my Ham number 20 beacon. And you've all seen that. It's a beautiful piece. I love that piece a lot. It's a great lantern. It's very bright. It's a number 2, but with that shroud, and it just throws the light right out front. It's fantastic. But it has blue Japanning on the chimney and some other parts of the air tube and everything, and top of the reflector. But those were Japan. Now, why blue? Well, I don't know. Why not? It's very pretty. It's attractive color. It's a very kind of rich indigo, kind of teetering royal blue a little bit in spots. Now, people have tried to duplicate the Japanning finish. I've seen many attempts, and sometimes people use a rattle can paint that's a kind of a similar blue, and it's not opaque. It's not translucent, right? So it's a solid color, and it hides all the detail of the solder marks and everything, and it's very monochromatic, okay? And it looks like a Smurf. It looks like a Smurf. I'm sorry, I'm going to say it. I'm not a fan of that. Now, if you're a fan of that, cool, awesome, I'm glad that you are. I, however, am not. I like the inconsistency of the translucent quality of a true Japan job, because then you'll see the tin and the soldering and all the neat details that tell that this is a handmade product, you know. And I love solder. I mean, I love my old lanterns that have solder joints and everything. Now, when they were brand new, they were not as obvious because solder and tin were practically as bright as each other. But over the years, you get the tin darkening and aging out, but the solder will remain brighter than the tin does, because solder just kind of retains that shiny quality longer. But I like the contrast. I enjoy that. It's something I do really appreciate. But with these guys, these Japan lanterns, it's really hard to find them with Japan still intact. Why is that? Well, if they were, cared for, then shouldn't the Japanning not flake off? Or why is it flaking off? Well, a lantern like this is already 125 years old, and it's not designed to last forever. It's a miracle that it lasts today even. It's a miracle that's sitting here on the bench. Somebody kept it in a dark place, in a cool place, a dry place, and it didn't rust. And when I got this, I got it from a friend of mine down in Ramona, California. You might guess who I got it from. But anyways, this piece is really special because it's it didn't have any rust on it, and it was just kind of dusty, and it had a little bit of surface rust. So I just did a very light WD-40, kind of zhuzhing up, just around some of the areas. And I didn't want to disturb any of the Japanning. I did not want to disturb any of the Japanning or have that come off at all. So I was very careful and mindful of that. So yeah, it came out really good. I did buff up the reflector back there a little bit, just so it reflected light a little better. But it's not something I'm going to use. I don't have a buckboard or a wagon or a team of horses. I can't afford that. I'm able to barely afford a 1940 Dodge. But in the day, that was what everybody used, and that was, I guess you could say, kind of cost efficient for that era, because that's all you had, really. The automobile didn't come till a little later. I mean, well, if this is 125 years old, the automobile was just making its appearance on the scene, and that was kind of the salad days of the old internal combustion engine. And It was 1900, 1905, give or take. But yeah, people were still using kerosene largely, and the automobile was something afforded only by very wealthy people. So a lot of people still had horses and teams, and that was still a very viable means of transportation, and that's what people had. People afforded one horse or maybe two if they could swing it. Wagon, I mean, Studebaker was making wagons before automobiles. Studebaker was around before the automobile. A lot of people don't know that. It's interesting, right? Yeah. So a lot of the carriage and wagon manufacturers of the 19th century eventually entered the automobile market, and that makes sense. They already have equipment and they're making these things, and they just decided to make their coaches with a motor. So it makes sense. Anyhow, Japanning. How do you tell if it's Japan or not? Like people have asked, like, is this paint or Japanning? Like I said earlier, pay attention. Japanning, real Japanning, will be translucent. You will see some of the details of the metal through the Japanning. If it's in good shape, you will. Now, if it's a really dirty, grungy lantern and you can't tell, you can tell it's painted or Japanned or coated in something. A little light detergent, a little water, and just a sponge, and just kind of gently clean it a little bit will reveal more information if it's gunky and grimy and everything. But yeah, you're going to want to proceed very cautiously because Japanning after 100 plus years is going to be very prone to flaking, and it will come off and you'll be sad. So when I see people post a Survivor, something similar to this, and they say, oh, I'm going to clean it, I'll be like, well, if there's no rust on it, don't even bother. Or like, should I coat it in something? No, it's coated, it's fine, just keep it inside. Just keep it inside. It's already made. It's already made at 120 plus years without any assistance. So just kind of dust it off and, maybe wipe it down with a very soft cloth and, whatever, if you feel that you must. But something like this, you don't need to do much. You really don't. One a subscriber and collector friend from the Tubular Group was asking me he was asking for tips on how to clean up and restore an antique lantern. I was like, well, to be fair, I don't really do that anymore. I do very little of it. In fact, if I get a lantern that actually do clean and preen, it's usually one that I have to strip the paint off of it because it's like a later paint job and it's ugly and I don't like it. And so I'll strip it and then I'll wipe it down and then do a little WD-40 rub down type of thing and maybe a little bit of green Scotch pad if there's some rough areas. And then I'll wipe it all off, and that's it. I don't even use the mother's polish anymore. I haven't even polished the lantern like that for, over a year. And some people are like, well, why don't you do it? Doesn't that look nice? My aesthetic has changed, okay? I've become more of a as-is guy, and I know that probably annoys some of you guys. And I'm sure it does. I know some people don't understand it. They're like, well, you're in the hobby, aren't you, about preservation? Yes, I am. I am about preservation. Big time. My ideas of preservation are different than others. And I'll explain this because, like this, when I got it, it was very dirty. So I did lightly get a lot of the dust off. As you can see, the globe is still fairly cloudy. It's not overly cleaned. But I got the dust off, and I did a very minor cleaning job. So I wanted to preserve the lantern because it did have some rust that I was kind of concerned about. So I did some light scrubbing in some of the areas that it really needed it. And then it, came out really nice and you could see the Japanning better. I didn't even polish the cone. I didn't polish that or anything. I didn't use any mothers or anything. I did polish the reflector just so it could reflect better. But this is more or less, all intents and purposes, as found. It is. This is how it is. But, some of the stuff I've recently got, I've done nothing to because it doesn't need it. It really doesn't need it. I try to only buy lanterns now that are that have an aesthetic, that are as is. Now, people have said, well, what about, painted lanterns. If it was painted back in the day, do you touch them? I'm like, not really. Like for instance, this Rayo 65. This has got this beautiful dark green paint on it. Somebody painted this in the era. Easily. Probably at least no later than the 20s. And it got this dark green paint job. You know? It's got some nice cool green paint. I've had 2 others like this. This is my 3rd Rayo 65. I've had 2 others and I've sold them and I regretted it. That's why I bought another one. But anyway, I like this one because of the dark green paint, and it's just really cool. Hand applied, kind of grungy. It tells a story. It tells a story about its life a little bit. Who used it and for what? Might have been used in camping, or maybe it was used for road utility purposes. It was painted green, and when I got it, I think I had a ruby globe in it. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I still have it somewhere. I put a marked Rayo globe in there. But anyhow, I'm all about history. And now preserving history also means not doing anything. For the coin collectors out there, you understand that you don't clean a coin, you don't polish a coin, you don't make it pretty, because if you do, that ruins its value. It completely obliterates its value if you touch a coin. There's other antiques that are very similar to like that. If you don't know how to, preserve it by just doing as little possible, then you devalue it. You do. Now, I don't know about tubulars as much, but I think we'll get there eventually. I know some true collectors that really kind of want a lantern as it is, as it was found, or with very minor touch-ups. They want kind of the as found aesthetic or the antique aesthetic. Restoration is a very tricky word, guys. It is. It's a very tricky word because to restore is to make new, to make something old new again. Now, we're talking about a piece of history that's been around before most of our grandparents, some of us. It's 120, 100 plus years old. That's a long time ago. It is. We get a little desensitized by that. We just throw it out just very casually. Oh, it's 100 years old. Like, wait. Just think about it. Just think about it. 10 years ago was almost a different world, right? Before the pandemic, 10 years ago, 2015, you think about it, you're like, holy cow, yeah, it was. Things are a lot different now than 10 years ago. So you times that 10, you have 100 years. 100 years ago was 1925. That was before the stock market crash. Steam locomotives were roaming the earth. The Charleston was popular. Prohibition. Women could vote. All the different things of history that we learn in school or on our own were brand new. Was happening. Yes. That's a different world, different mentality. So to erase it or to restore something to a brand new condition, I can understand and I can appreciate the desire to do that. But if you get something that's, like, say, in this condition, then you don't want to do anything. You don't want to do anything. You just kind of want to brush it off lightly, keep the dust off of it, and enjoy it. If you want to enjoy it like this, I don't burn this one very often because of the globe, but, heck, I could put a different globe in and use it all the time. But I don't, because I'm not really a dash lantern person. I don't really have many. I've sold most of the other ones I've had. And I've had some dillies, too. I've had some really nice ones. Heck, I had another ham, similar to this, but I had a copper fountain. And, of course, the frame was rusted and very rustic and decayed. Get out of here, fly. What the heck? Why do these flies come in here? I swear, I bathed and I smell nice. I promise you guys. I don't get it. Flies there. There's plenty of trash cans in the alley. What's with the garage? I don't know. It's clean. I cleaned it out here. It's fine. Anyways, try it when you get a lantern. This is going to be Rayo Rob's challenge to the community. Okay? When you find your next piece and it's just dusty, okay? Maybe it has a patina. Maybe it's not rusty, but it just has a dark patina. Maybe some grunge to it. Okay? Maybe it's got some grime on there, and you can tell it's just kind of dirty, but you find it at a garage sale or a barn sale or something like that. Sadly, we have no such things out here because all the barns have been demolished and they're Very rare to find an actual barn in LA County. But other parts of the country, that's still a thing. Not as common as it was, but anyhow, say you find a marketplace, a tubular, and it's, you know, it's grungy, it's kind of dusty and everything, okay? But it looks solid and it's all there and everything's complete and you get it for a fair price. Before you do anything to it, promise me this one thing. Leak test it, okay? Clean out the fountain maybe. See if it's safe to fuel it. Put some fuel in there and light it. Many times I've noticed with some of those type of lanterns, they burn just fine. Yeah, I know. We are living in a DIY infused culture where all these programs and reality shows surface where we're going to take this rusty old thing and we're going to make it like new and drive it and enjoy it or use it or whatever. You know, there's a lot of those programs that show somebody taking something discarded and forgotten and rusty and make it into something beautiful. And I get it. I understand the appeal. But not all the times you want to do that. Not all the times that's something that you actually really need to do. Now, if it's really rusty and it's missing parts and you want to get it going, yeah, of course, do whatever you want. I'm not going to tell you what to do with your collection or whatever you buy. But, you know, if you get something that's this nice, it has got some Japanning left, and you want to do less is more. Absolutely. And sometimes it's nice to let the history just speak for itself. I have other lanterns I have not touched at all. I have not touched it all at all. And those are some of my favorites to burn. They really are. Such as the Liberty from Simmons Hardware that I've had a couple videos back, you know. I put in that proper globe and that different bail handle on there, but it's exactly as I got it. That has red Japanning on it. That's got a red Japan job on there, and the copper fountain, yeah, it's fantastic. But yeah, I've really kind of tapered off on doing a lot of, you know, preparation and preservation. But I understand not everybody's out here in a drier climate. You know, those guys out there in the Midwest and east of there definitely have much more moist temperatures and humidity. So you're going to want to do something to protect it from rusting. And I'm not going to be ignorant about that. Now, if you don't have central air or climate control in your house, then sure. You might want to do a very light BLO treatment. Boiled linseed oil, for those who don't understand the acronym. But anyways, yeah, it's what you want to do sometimes. But I mean, there's ways to do it without making the lantern look overly glossy. For me, that's kind of not something I really like. I don't like an overly glossy finish because it makes it look oily and wet. That's just me. That's just me. However, I will say, to each his own. To each his own. But yeah, for me, I like getting something that looks like it was just dusted off and, you know, it was blown out a century ago. And then you can just, you know, light it and enjoy it and keep it going as it was when you found it. That's where I get some of my joy and pleasure from the hobby. Yeah, well, you've all heard me prattle on long enough. You have. Oh, my hat? Well, thank you. I appreciate it. It's a beautiful piece. Yeah. It's a Borsalino. Check that out. Yeah. Yeah. It was a gift from a very special subscriber. That's right. Yeah, you get it. You get it. All right. Well, friends, you all have a great rest of your weekend or week into the weekend. And we will be seeing you in the next video. And I will figure out something fun to present and share that next video. And maybe we'll do something, we'll deviate from the lantern content and we'll do something historically interesting and fun. All right, guys, we'll have a good one and we'll see you next time. Bye. Sit, boo-boo, sit. Good dog.